the rich, and to hell with the legitimate needs, rights, and interests of the common man. Tell me I'm a liar. So why do you want Gaddafi dead? He's the only Arab that has ever apologized for the Arab role in the transatlantic slave trade. Did you hear what I just said? Now people think that I'm hard on Jews for their role in the transatlantic slave trade, which I am. But I have never, ever relinquished my point that Arabs were involved, Africans were involved, Europeans were involved in the horror of the transatlantic slave trade. So I was a guest of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. And I mentioned that the Arabs were involved in the slave trade. One of his staff people ran out of the hall and ran back to Brother Gaddafi to tell him what Farrakhan had said. And guess what Brother Leader said, as I heard? He said, well, at least you know he's not a politician. See, if I was trying to curry favor to get Libyan money, I would say the thing that I thought they would like to hear. But I have never been a whore, and can't nobody buy me. Allah is sufficient. And for any of you stupid reporters who are the enemies of the American people, to say that Farrakhan supports Gaddafi because Gaddafi loaned millions of dollars. Let me tell you something. What Gaddafi loaned the nation is like somebody spitting on fertile ground expecting a tree to grow. And for you to malign my character, that you think that I speak for him because I need money. I say to hell with all the money that he and everybody else has. I am not supported by that. I'm supported by Allah and the love of the... Look, Gaddafi, now this is the real hatred for this man. He set $70 billion in an African development bank in the city of Sirte is where the bank was going to be. Listen to me now. So that Africa would never have to go to the international MFs. I mean, IMF or the World Bank to borrow money at high interest rates. But being a Muslim, we do not believe in usury. So he had $70 billion set aside for African development at no interest. When you see a leader doing that for his own people and for Africa, when they are sucking the blood of every nation, including your blood, let me tell you about your blood. You think the Federal Reserve Bank is government owned? The Federal Reserve Bank is a group of international bankers. What will you do when they start cutting back on your unemployment benefits? What will you do when they cut out food stamps and the things that we have depended you react? Will you come out in the street like you see in Great Britain when they're closing down schools and setting up more policemen in New York, in Chicago, teachers out of job, police increasing in job? What do they expect? The police have weapons now like the soldiers have in Iraq and Afghanistan. Look at the way they're dressed when they come out to quell a riot or disturbance. They look just like the soldiers overseas. They have armor-piercing bullets now. They have stun bombs that they just throw and come on in on you. They're ready. So when you decide to break out in the street and act the fool, they've been trained by Blackwater. In all the major cities in America, the police are trained by mercenaries, and you have a group that will serve and protect, but you've got another group that is just there to kill. So Gaddafi, as I come to a conclusion, has championed the idea of building railroads and infrastructure in Africa. He set up a satellite, paid $400 million, and the other African nations put up $100 million. He put a satellite up that's an African satellite. Whenever we would call to Africa, we would have to go by Europe to get to Africa. That gave Europe $500 million a year of your money when you want to call Africa. That satellite, when it went up, we talked direct to Africa, cutting out Europe. Listen to me now. Europe lost $500 million last year when our satellite went up. Gaddafi is dangerous to Western hegemony. He's dangerous to imperialists. He's dangerous to monopolists. He's dangerous to the Western oligarchy that wants to suck the resources of the world to a small group of international bankers and thieves. Let me tell you what else he did. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was among us, he saw that Africa produced tremendous iron ore. The iron ore would be shipped out of Africa to Europe. Europe would take the iron ore, turn it into steel, send back products to Africa at exorbitant prices. Now Muammar Gaddafi says, Africa, you gotta stop sending your raw materials to Europe. Take your raw materials and make the product that you desire, then put your product on the world market and keep the profit for Africa. This is a dangerous man, and he's so dangerous that they feel he must be destroyed. So now, the killing of his son, his grandchildren, the constant bombing, what's that all about? You notice how they keep talking about rape, that the Libyan soldiers were raping Libyan people. You should go to Libya. The peace that's in the streets of Libya, you don't find robbery, thievery, people beating you up. You have more peace in the streets of Libya than you have in the projects with what little you have. But this charge of rape, I got a few more minutes. I have to stop, and I will be respectful of the police and what they PR. A 2004 study found that 71% of the women said they were sexually assaulted or raped while serving in the United States Armed Forces. A 1995 study of female veterans of the Gulf and earlier wars found that 90% had been sexually harassed, and these are American soldiers sexually harassing and raping women, American women who are soldiers. Now you tell me something. If an American soldier will rape an American soldier female, when they become the occupying army in Iraq, in Afghanistan, what are they doing to Muslim women? What are they doing to Muslim men? So much so, sodomizing men in Abu Ghraib prison, raping Iraqi women dressed like our Muslim sisters, but raping them and then killing their families. Listen, listen, listen. You don't join the armed forces to be nation builders. You join the armed forces and they train you to kill. You're killers. And when you go into a foreign country, they have to make you see that people as the enemy so that you will delight in killing them. So, why did Army Major Nidal Malik Hassan, a Muslim psychiatrist at Fort Hood, go on a shooting spree after being assigned to debrief soldiers who came back from the theater of war, and they're telling him of the things that they did that were against their conscience now? And a Muslim psychiatrist is hearing them talking about the rape of Muslim women, the killing and sodomizing of families. He couldn't take it anymore, so he just shot up the soldiers. They want you to think that he's a terrorist, but he was debriefing terrorists, and unfortunately, it took his balance. So now, in closing, Resolution 1973 did not call for regime change. It did not call for the assassination of a leader. It did not call for bombings, killing, and maiming of men, women, and children. It did not call for the robbery of the nation's economy and subsistence. And it did not call for the destruction of the infrastructure of Libya. They set up puppet governments, and they legitimized factions or groups of rebels that would serve the objectives of the attacking nations under the noble cause of protecting the people. All this while bombing and wasting the land and lives of the people that America claims to be so concerned about. I want to ask you a question. As I said in the press conference 5 or 6 weeks ago at the United Nations Hotel, I said, suppose you survive. What will you do then? Now he's surviving, right? They're going to have to deal with brother. Now look at this. If he has to rebuild his own infrastructure with what money he got left, that means he will have no money to further the cause of African productivity. And if Gaddafi wins, who will bring NATO before the International Criminal Court and make them pay for for the destruction that they have caused in Libya.